The General Overseas Service of All India Radio presents readings from an autobiography or the story of my experiments with truth. The reading from the autobiography is presented by Sri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, writer, teacher, and the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The words of the Mahatma in the voice of his grandson.
The next day at 1 o'clock, I went to Mr. Baker's prayer meeting. I was introduced to others. Mr. Coates was a Quaker. We went out for walks together, and he also took me to other Christian friends. As we came closer to each other, he began to give me books of his own choice until my shelf was filled with them. He loaded me with books, as it were. I read a number of such books in 1893. I liked some things in them, while I did not like others. Mr. Coates was not the man easily to accept defeat. He had great affection for me. He saw round my neck the Vaishnava necklace of Tulsi beads. He thought it to be superstition and was pained by it. This superstition does not become you. Come, let me break the necklace. No, you will not. It is a sacred gift from my mother. But do you believe in it? I do not know its mysterious significance. I do not think I should come to harm if I did not wear it. But I cannot, without sufficient reason, give up a necklace that she put round my neck out of love and in the conviction that it would be conducive to my welfare. When with the passage of time it wears away and breaks of its own accord, I shall have no desire to get a new one. But this necklace cannot be broken. Sheikh Tayyib Haji Khan Muhammad had in Pretoria the same position as was enjoyed by Dada Abdullah in Natal. There was no public movement that could be conducted without him. I made his acquaintance the very first week and told him of my intention to get in touch with every Indian in Pretoria. My first step was to call a meeting of all the Indians in Pretoria and to present to them a picture of their condition in the Transvaal. The meeting was held at the house of Sheikh Haji Muhammad Haji Jusub, to whom I had a letter of introduction. It was principally attended by Memon merchants, though there was a sprinkling of Hindus as well. My speech at this meeting may be said to have been the first public speech in my life. I went fairly prepared with my subject, which was about observing truthfulness in business. I had always heard the merchants say that truth was not possible in business. I did not think so then, nor do I now. I strongly contested the position in my speech and awakened the merchants to a sense of their duty, which was twofold. The responsibility to be truthful was all the greater in a foreign land, because the conduct of a few Indians was the measure of that of the millions of their fellow countrymen. I had found our people's habits to be insanitary as compared with those of the Englishmen around them, and drew their attention to it. I laid stress on the necessity of forgetting all distinctions such as Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, Gujaratis, Madrasis, Punjabis, Sindhis, Kachis, Surtis, and so on. I suggested, in conclusion, the forming of an association to make representations to the authorities concerned in respect of the hardships of the Indian settlers, and offered to place at its disposal as much of my time and service as was possible. I saw that I made a considerable impression on the meeting. In short, my stay in Pretoria enabled me to make a deep study of the social, economic, and political conditions of the Indians in the Transvaal and the Orange Free State. I had no idea that this study was to be of invaluable service to me in the future, for I had thought of returning home by the end of the year or even earlier, if the case finished before the year was out. But God disposed otherwise. A very stringent enactment was passed in the Transvaal in 1885. It was slightly amended in 1886, and it was provided under the amended law that all Indians should pay a poll tax of £3 as fee for entry into the Transvaal. They might not own land except in locations set apart for them, and in practice even that was not to be ownership. They had no franchise. Under these latter, Indians might not walk on public footpaths and might not move out of doors after 9 p.m. without a permit. The consequences of the regulation regarding the use of footpaths were rather serious for me. I always went out for a walk through President Street to an open plain. President Kruger's house was in this street, a very modest, unostentatious building without a garden and not distinguishable from other houses in its neighborhood. I nearly always went along the footpath past this petrol without the slightest hitch or hindrance. Now the man on duty used to be changed from time to time. Once, one of these men, without giving me the slightest warning, without even asking me to leave the footpath, pushed and kicked me into the street. I was dismayed. Before I could question him as to his behavior, Mr. Coates, who happened to be passing the spot on horseback, hailed me and said, "Gandhi, I have seen everything. I shall gladly be your witness in court if you proceed against the man. I am very sorry you have been so rudely assaulted." "You need not be sorry," I said. "What does the poor man know?" The incident deepened my feeling for the Indian settlers. I discussed with them the advisability of making a test case if it were found necessary to do so after having seen the British agent in the matter of these regulations. I thus made an intimate study of the hard condition of the Indian settlers, not only by reading and hearing about it, but by personal experience. I saw that South Africa was no country for a self-respecting Indian, and my mind became more and more preoccupied with the question as to how this state of thing might be improved. But my principal duty for the moment was to attend to the case of Dada Abdullah. The year's stay in Pretoria was a most valuable experience in my life. Here it was that I had opportunities of learning public work and acquired some measure of my capacity for it. It was likewise here that I learnt the secret of success as a lawyer. Dada Abdullah's was no small case. I took the keenest interest in the case. I indeed threw myself into it. I read all the papers pertaining to the transactions. My client was a man of great ability and reposed absolute confidence in me, and this rendered my work easy. When I was making preparation for Dada Abdullah's case, I had not fully realized this paramount importance of facts. Facts mean truth, and once we adhere to truth, the law comes to our aid naturally. I saw that the facts of Dada Abdullah's case made it very strong indeed, and that the law was bound to be on his side. But I also saw that the litigation, if it were persisted in, would ruin the plaintiff and the defendant, who were relatives and both belonged to the same city. I approached Tayyib Seth and requested and advised him to go to arbitration. I felt that my duty was to defend both parties and bring them together. I strained every nerve to bring about a compromise. At last, Tayyib Seth agreed. An arbitrator was appointed. The case was argued before him, and Dada Abdullah won. But that did not satisfy me. It was impossible for Tayyib Seth to pay down the whole sum of £37,000 and costs. There was only one way. Dada Abdullah should allow him to pay in moderate installments. He was equal to the occasion and granted Tayyib Seth installments spread over a very long period. Both were happy over the result, and both rose in the public estimation. My joy was boundless. I had learnt the true practice of law.
You just heard the reading from the Autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, presented by Shri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.